right, I am so curious what's going to happen. We are on to Chapter 9, The Mysterious Ivory Dog Bar. So, what could it be? I dived into the tunnel and wiggled my way through to the other side, and then I held my breath and listened. The pickup came down the alley. It slowed, then sped up and kept going. I had dodged another bullet. My sister wouldn't have been too proud of me if I got her kids thrown in the dog pound. The pups came running up to me, jumping up and down, yipping, licking me on my face. You know how pups do. They were all so excited. "Oh boy, Uncle Hank," said Roscoe. "That was the funniest thing we've ever done." "Yeah," said Spot. "We like being cow dogs. I can't wait to tell Mom." "Hey, wait a minute. Hold it right there, son," I said. "Something tells me we best keep our adventures to ourselves. Your mom might take a dim view on this. Mum's the word, kids." They all grinned and nodded, and for the next 15 minutes they were about whispering mum's the word to each other. Not long after we got back, Maggie came out of the doghouse. She said she'd had a nice long nap and her head was feeling somewhat better. She asked what we'd done while she was asleep, and I said, "Oh, nothing much. We had a little snack and did some singing." She stared at me, kind of twisted her head to the side. "Really? Singing? Well, I must say, that surprises me." I must say she had been even more surprised if she'd known where and how and why we'd done our singing. But what she didn't know wasn't going to hurt her. "You've got some very talented children," I said. "Yes, sir, they sure do a good job of singing, especially them gals." "Well, thank you, Henry. I confess. Well, I just didn't think you cared about culture and refinement. Maybe I've underestimated you." "It's entirely possible, Mag. I mean, just because I've been trained to be a dangerous weapon doesn't mean I can't appreciate beautiful music and poetry and that kind of stuff." So they're thinking of two different kinds of singing. The kids were pretty well tuckered out after our garbage patrol and the cat episode, and they stretched out in the yard and took naps in the sun. But every now and then April and Barbara would sit up and go to scratching. Maggie noticed, and about the third time it happened, she went over to check it out. "Barbara, what are you doing?" "April, why are you scratching? You know that's not ladylike." For some reason the girls looked at me. "Oh, nothing, Mom," said April. "We just—" Maggie moved closer, squinted her eyes, and studied Barbara's hair. She gasped. "Fleas?" Then April started scratching her ear. "You too? What? Where?" For some reason she looked in my direction. Why was everybody staring at me? I mean, anyone can catch fleas from a bunch of scroungy cats, but is that my fault? Mag turned back to Barbara. "And furthermore, young lady, you smell like dead fish. What on earth have you girls been doing?" "Well," they started crying. I guess they'd never had fleas before and thought it was something horrible. I couldn't hear all that was going on over there, but I had suspicion that my nieces were spilling the beans, and I had another suspicion that a storm was fixing to strike Uncle Hank. Maggie gave the kids a severe lecture and sent them to bed in the middle of the afternoon. Then she came over to where I was counting my change, you might say, and trying to look as innocent as possible. "Listen, Maggie, let me explain. I just thought—" "No, it's all right, Henry. I understand." "You do?" She gave me a sweet smile, which sort of surprised me. "The children talked you into taking them on a little romp." "Well, and you were too nice to say no." "Well, yes, but—" "And you told them to stay out of the garbage and to leave the cats alone, but they didn't." "No, they didn't, Maggie. And so they've come home stinking and covered with fleas, which is just what they deserve." "Well, Mag, I didn't want to. I mean, they're awful sweet kids." So he's going along with the kids. It was their idea. "But kids will be kids, right?" "They sure will be. I hope you're not—" "Mad at you?" "Why, Henry, how could I be mad at you?" "I see what you mean, Mag. You're right. How could you be mad at me?" Huh. I dodged another bullet. I kind of hated for the kids to catch all the blame. But what in the world? They were young. They would survive. "Well, Mag asked if I was hungry yet, and I said, yes, as a matter of fact, I was. She said that was great because she had a special meal for me. And now that the children are out of the way, we can have a quiet meal and talk about old times." As you can imagine, I was delighted to see Maggie in such good spirits. She brought me some supper, said it was a new kind of dog food, and she'd been saving it for a special occasion. It sure looked odd to me. Well, I shouldn't say odd because that sounds too critical, and I'd be the last guy on this earth to criticize his sister's grub. It was different. Where your ordinary run of dog food is brown and shaped in kernels or biscuits, this stuff was pure white and shaped of a rectangle. More of a bar than a biscuit, don't you see? Had a different smell to it. Where your co-op dog food will have the smell of stale grease, this new brand had kind of a perfumey smell. Mag brought a real pretty red dog bowl and set it in front of me, and then she dropped the bar of dog food into the bowl. It hit with a clunk. Hey, that looks great, sis. I think you'll like it, Henry. Sis, nobody wrestles grub like you. I mean, food just seems to taste better at your place. What do you call this recipe? There's the name right there. She pointed to the bar, and sure enough, it had it on it. Huh, Ivory. Ivory. Is that it? Uh-huh. Ivory dog bars. The children just adore them. Well, by George, if my nieces and nephews say they're good, they're bound to be good. How do you eat this thing? I mean, when a guy's in town, he wants to do things proper. Yes, one does. Yes, one does. One just bite off a piece, and she started giggling. Chew it up. Sis, I can't tell you how glad I am to see you laughing again. I mean, that headache business really had me worried. It makes the whole trip worthwhile just seeing you laugh. Thank you, Henry. It's nice of you, too. She started laughing again. You say so. Yeah, it's great. You know, it kind of reminds me of the time me and you were down by the septic tank chasing butterflies, as I recall. You remember that? I sure do, Henry. The butterfly landed on a weed out in that nasty green water. And you leaned out over the water. Yes, yes, and you pushed me in. She laughed. I laughed. I sure did. Boy, did you hate that. And do you remember how we laughed about it? Go on with your supper, Henry. Yes, I sure do. Yeah, I took a big bite of that dog bar and started chewing it up. Say, that stuff had a strange taste. Real strange. Nothing at all like co-op. Sis was watching me. How do you like it? Huh? Oh, the dog bar. Hey, it's supper, Mag. It's really... I swallowed the first bite. Out of this world. That pleased her. I'm so glad you like it. I would have been crushed if you hadn't, right? No, it's different, Mag. But you know me, I'm always anxious to try something different. How sweet. We'll take another bite and go on with your story. I bit another hunk. Well, there you were in the sewer, up to your brisket, and I could hardly believe my eyes. A big bubble came out of my mouth. It grew and grew, and it popped. Mag was staring at me. Is anything wrong? Did you see that? See what? That great big bubble that came out of my mouth. She laughed. Oh, Henry, you're such a tease. Just for a moment I thought you were serious. Did you really? Just for a moment I thought I was serious too. As a matter of fact, I could have sworn I saw a big bubble. How's the ivory dog bar? Oh, sis, this stuff is just... I swallowed the bite I had in my mouth. This stuff is really... I burped again. I mean, it just snuck out. I couldn't help it. Henry! Excuse me, Maggie, that's horrible manners. It really is. Oh well, I suppose that's just your way of showing how much you enjoy the meal. It is, it sure is, and thanks for being so... There went another bubble coming out of my mouth. It popped. Did you see that? So, do you think he really likes the meal, or do you think he's just saying he likes the meal so she doesn't feel bad? She leaned over and patted me on the cheek. You big old teaser, you can't fool me with that again. Now go on and eat and finish your story. To be truthful about it, I didn't want to go on and eat. I mean, I could have quit right there and been satisfied, but she was sitting in front of me, and I sure as heck didn't want her to think I took another bite. Anyway, there you were out there in the water, and we got to laughing. Yes, I remember, she said, but you know it's odd that I don't remember in the same way that you do? I have a very clear recollection of you laughing while I stood in the water and cried. Now, isn't that... Henry? What is that on your mouth? Huh? I wiped a paw across my mouth and looked at it. Looks kind of like foam, don't it? Has anyone guessed yet what it is? By George, I believe it is foam. Foam? Her eyes widened. Henry, you're foaming at the mouth. You don't like my supper? Now, Mag, you aren't telling the truth. You hate my cooking. You always have. Oh, I'm a complete failure. Hey, listen, Mag, that foam don't mean a thing. Shucks. I mean at the mouth. I foam at the mouth all the time. Lies, lies. You hate my cooking. No, Mag, I love it. Honest. She looked at me through tear-filled eyes. Then why haven't you finished the ivory dog bar? Because, well, here it goes. Down the old hatch. I took the rest of the bar in my mouth, chewed it up, and swallowed it. There you see, sis. And you thought I didn't like it. All at once, I felt sick. I mean sick. My mouth foamed and dripped and drooled, and I could have sworn that I saw some more of them bubbles. So look at her face. She looks disgusted. What were you saying? My head started to swim. I looked at Mag and thought I might toss my cookies right there. I was saying how delicious. What do you reckon they put in those dog bars? 'Cause boy, they sure are good. Oh, Henry, do you really mean that? You really liked it? Oh, I'm so thrilled. I'll serve it for breakfast tomorrow. Wonderful, Mag. Just wonderful. Mercy. I gotta check on. Excuse me for a minute. I didn't want to get sick in front of my sister, so I made a dash for the alley. By way of the tunnel we had dug under the fence. I made it just in time. Out in the alley I had to pitch my cookies. What came up was bubbles, hundreds of them, thousands of them. Green ones, red ones, pink ones, more bubbles than I'd ever seen in my whole life. Have you guessed what the ivory bar is yet? I was sitting there contemplating on all those bubbles when I heard a pickup coming down the alley. It went past, screeched to a stop, and backed up. It was a white pickup with a wire cage in the back. The man inside stared at me, then got on his two-way radio. Mobile 13 to City Hall. Larry, this is Jimmy Joe. I got a code 3, man, a rabid dog in the alley behind the Greg's house. He is foaming at the mouth. Larry, send me some help. I glanced around. I hadn't seen any rabid dogs. In fact, it appeared to me that I was the only dog in the... Huh? That guy thought I had rabies? Chapter 10, On Death Row. Okay, does anybody know what the ivory bar is? Ivory is a brand of soap. So what do you think it could be? All right, guys, the next chapter is On Death Row, Chapter 10.